Now, our topic today is one of the most dynamic forces shaping businesses, social commerce. We've got so many options online now, from TikTok Shop to Twitch to Livestream to Instagram Reels. It's really changing how consumers interact with brands, how they shop, and how they discover products in the first place, right? So joining me today are two brilliant minds who live and breathe this space. Tim Vanderveer, co-founder of Go Spooky, and Vincenzo Toscano, founder and CEO of eComC. Welcome and thank you for joining us today. Now let's start with a quick round of self-intros. Tim, could you kick us off?
Yeah, thank you so much. I'm Tim, co-founder of Go Spooky. We're a global agency focused on social commerce. Founded the company 9 years ago. We work for brands like Nike, Coca-Cola, Dior. Myself based in Amsterdam and New York, where we have both offices. And excited to be here.
Thank you. And you?
So my name is Vincenzo Toscano, founder and CEO of eComC, and we are a global full-service agency that specializes in marketplaces such as Amazon, Walmart, and TikTok. To date, we have worked with over 1,000 brands with an active team, over 80 people globally, and we actually manage a portfolio of over 100 million in revenue. So we have all these brands with everything that has to do with advertising, listing optimization, all the strategies when it comes to really expanding these brands such as e-commerce and social commerce. So I'm very excited to be here and dive deep into all the things we have learned so far.
Thank you. I think you've got a few fans over there. Maybe you've helped them.
I signed autographs afterwards.
Very happy clients over there, probably. So thank you. Let's start with the broader picture. This question is for both of you. Now, how has social commerce evolved in the past several years, and why should small and mid-sized businesses care? Vincenzo, could we start with you? Sorry, Vince.
Yeah. So I would say social commerce is been super impactful across the whole ecosystem, especially just to give you an example, we manage a lot of brands on Amazon, and we're seeing how having a presence now on social media is more important than ever. And the reason is because the behavior when it comes to how people shop is significantly shifting from being just essentially going to a marketplace and shopping to now actually going and engaging with your trusted influencer or the person that you really on a daily basis see what they're doing with their lives, their blogs and everything, see which products they're using, and then from their feedback essentially start embedding those kind of solutions into your life. So I think as a brand, especially in today's age that there is so much competition, the only way you're going to stay ahead and not become a commodity, which is what really is killing most of the brands, is creating that unique connection with your consumer. And the only way you're going to do that is by embedding trust, by working with influencers, or even yourself, if you're the founder of your brand. Like, put your face out there on TikTok, on Instagram, on Facebook, document how you are in the warehouse, doing the deliveries for your customers, explain how you came up with the product idea, explain what makes your product different. I think that is what is going to essentially tell the consumer why they should buy your product, which, for example, is $100, compared to the generic product that they can find for $20 everywhere else. So it's understanding that. And I think the other thing that you have to consider is also essentially the type of consumer you tap into with social commerce. I feel if you only, which a lot of you do, because I know I've been talking with a lot of you today, you only stock into the Amazon, for example, bubble, you're going to be having a tough time to actually tapping into the new generation that the only thing they're doing is, for example, shopping on TikTok. So you need to understand that and make sure you implement it on your daily operations. Yeah.
Cool. So more consumers now want behind-the-scenes stuff, right? So they want to go on the platform and see how founders and staff behind the brand work, and be mindful of what type of consumers you wanted to attract to your brand. Okay. And Tim, what's your take on how social commerce has evolved?
Yeah, I think it's one of the biggest shifts we've seen since the finding of e-commerce. It's like the big shift here is not social becoming commerce. The big shift here is commerce becoming social. So What that means is your customer, they go to TikTok or they go to a feed before they walk into a store or go to a web shop. And that changes the whole game. I truly believe the moment we're now in, a platform like TikTok Shop is what Amazon was in 1996. So it's like, instead of it happening in decades, now it's happening in a few years. Why is this so important for small businesses? It's if you're not visible on these platforms, or you're not on these platforms, and you're not working with creators, and you're not selling on there and building relevance, someone else will. And I believe the businesses who are now going in early, TikTok Shop, whatnot, live social shopping, builder creator networks, those are the brands who will outgrow their category. So yeah, major opportunity, and we're still early.
Thank you. So yes, commerce being social, and we'll get into more of that. Now, right now, social commerce is a full ecosystem, right? So it's developing storytelling, it's developing trust with the consumer, and while being convenient at the same time. So let's dive on that, and let's share with us more with your secret sauce for clients. Tim, staying with you, you've said Go Spooky was built for the social area. What does that mean? And can you share one example that reflects that mindset?
Yeah, definitely. So being built for the social era is that you're built around speed, creators, these platforms, and most importantly, iteration. So most brands, most companies, they treat social media like a channel. While the most modern brands out there and the brands that are winning, they're not treating social like a channel or somewhere where they distribute. They use it like an operating system. So somewhere where they can test, learn about their next new product. I think that's, if you look at brands like a Gymshark or even some TikTok beauty brands right now who've been doing like between 10 and 50 million in run rate within like 12 to 18 months. That's what they're all doing. They're listening, they're learning, continuously testing, they are building with creators. So I believe that's what being built for the social era, using it as your foundation, as your operating system instead of a channel.
And Gymshark, you think it's a good example, right? So, yeah.
I think it's one of the first really social first and social build brands. They were actually the brand was actually built on Instagram influencers, and they've built their whole business and foundations around social platforms.
Yeah, actually, I mean, and that's such a good example. That shows you how when you are essentially in front of your consumer, you're able to get the feedback and convert that into new products or into branding strategies. And that's essentially why a lot of brands are missing out, because if you're only on platforms such as, going back the example to Amazon or Walmart, you don't really have that first-handed essential communication with the consumer, like in terms of what they like, what they don't like, what the influencer is telling you that they're telling them on a daily basis on their DMs. So all of that is super, super important, because that's going to make sure that everything you do moving forward is essentially tailored toward who is your perfect avatar, and that's going to essentially make sure that the brand keeps being part of their lifestyle. Yeah?
Thank you. So building your brand around feedback from users is really important, and the iteration of the platforms itself. We're going to stay with you, Vincenzo. From your perspective, there are so many platforms right now to choose from. There's TikTok, Instagram, YouTube. We talked about Twitch as well. Where should brands start and why?
I would say there is no perfect place to start, because at the end of the day, all these platforms have different kind of demographics in terms of who is consuming the content or even shopping. So for example, going back to Twitch, right? If you're going to be doing advertising on Twitch, you have to understand that the audience there tends to be usually between anywhere from 18 to 30, right? It's a very young demographic. So if your product is for, let's say, men over 50, like, you're definitely not going to find your consumer in there, right? So it's understanding that, who is the person on the platform, who is consuming it, and more importantly, going also back to the nature of which kind of products you can shop on these platforms. We're seeing, for example, in places such as TikTok, right? If you have a very high price point product, you're going to struggle. TikTok engages a lot into impulse buy, so anything between $20 to $30. As soon as you have a product over $100 or things like that, you're going to have a massive resistance as well. So it's understanding also the economics, how to reverse engineer that to your specific brand to make sure that that can actually allow you to keep creating the momentum that the brand needs to essentially keep growing into each of these marketplaces. Yeah.
And Tim, just to tag along Vincenzo's answer, when you work with bigger brands, obviously they have a bigger price point, more than $100. Which platform would you recommend them going?
It all depends on what you're trying to achieve, right? So we always talk about it, Go Spooky, we talk about the forefront of social. Every brand has a different forefront, and I think based on who is your consumer, where are they spending their time, their attention, what are you trying to achieve, that's how you pick your platforms. In terms of what's the right platform, I would always say just try as much as possible and double down 70% of your time on the one that works best, 20% just to be everywhere, and then 10% just test. Right now, Instagram's still a monster. If you're on an older category, Facebook, I think Meta as a whole, and just TikTok Shop, yeah, the opportunity is wide open, especially in Europe now.
And just to follow up on that, if I'm a brand planning my next campaign, what's a good step-by-step process or framework? And how do you measure success beyond ROI or conversion?
So a good step-by-step approach, I think it starts with one core insight. Social is the only place and the only channel that talks back at you. So what a lot of brands are doing, they're creating campaigns, then they're just distributing on social, maybe do some reporting, but just start by listening. Start listening, go deep into the platforms, figure out what your audience is talking about, go into the comments, figure out which creators are trending. That's step one, start listening. That will bring you so much insight in your actual consumer, in the platforms as well. What you do then, step two, start creating content at scale. Platform native, so specifically for all the platforms. Created entertainment first, make something people actually want to see. Do it at scale. So your employees, if you're a small business, your employees work with a handful of creators, use AI. And then third step, it's really looking at what you get back from the platform. So listening again, and scaling what works and just killing what don't. So I believe most brands, the brands that are winning, they're not building campaigns. They're building actual content engines, just focusing on volume, not on annual or like quarterly campaigns. Just every single day, how can I win on these platforms?
That's great. Anything to add to that?
Yeah, so I think a big mistake I also see embedded with defining success is a lot of people think that social commerce is meant to essentially make your brand viral very fast. And essentially sometimes people get too married to KPIs only associated with revenue and profitability. But I think with social commerce, I'm sure Tim will agree here, is sometimes the biggest really metric that you should be looking to define success is new to brand metrics, because this means this is people have never seen your brand. Thanks to this piece of content, an influencer now they know your brand. And then from there, you have to figure out how you get the most out of the consumer, which then we start tapping into lifetime value. But really, that's where success should look at the beginning, because at the beginning, if your pure KPI is profit, you're not going to go aggressive. You're not going to go at scale, as Tim is saying, and that's just going to tank the brand. And then you're going to say what most people think, which is, you know, social commerce doesn't work. It's not about that. It's about you not having the right objective to essentially aim for, right? So.
That's great. So apart from that, what other common mistakes do you feel when people try to launch their first campaign? Because Tim, you mentioned first campaign, try to do as many things as possible at the same time. Like, do you agree with that?
Yeah, I think that could also sometimes go very rapidly into kind of a mistake in terms of how you allocate budget. Because when people start doing social commerce, a lot of times they want to be on Instagram, on Facebook, on TikTok, on Twitch, other platforms that we know can give you that kind of exposure. And I think it's for most brands where you're getting started, you're not going to have unlimited budget. And what is going to happen, you're going to spread yourself too thin. You're not going to have enough money to really maximize what each of these platforms can achieve for you. And essentially, you're not going to create the momentum that is required. So I will go back to my first answer, which is identify what is the highest probability for success, which comes down to where is most of your consumers spending time? Is it TikTok? Is it Twitch? Is it Instagram? Is it Facebook? Is it X? Right? And from there, reverse engineer, okay, this is where really I need to start, because if you start where most of your consumers are, that is what is going to create the cash flow to then use that cash flow to then essentially drain into the other pockets of social commerce to create that kind of full exposure. So I would say that's one mistake people should avoid, going too big too fast and not essentially quantify the impact they can achieve if they focalize their budget on only one channel at a time. You know?
Great. So lots of information right there, if I may summarize quickly. Tim, 3-step process. First, listen to your users, go deep into the comments, read what they're saying, and then create content that's actually entertaining and make them stick to the platform, stick to your brand. And third, see what works, right? And Vincenzo, you reminded us, don't just look at revenue or profit. See where and identify which users you want to target with the brand, right? Okay, thank you. Did everybody get that? So now let's look forward to a little bit and talk about what's next. Live streaming. So it's become a really big phenomenon in China. Tim, you shared that you went to China and did a whole tour last November, and that blew your mind with what people are doing there with live streaming. So could you share with us your experience there, and how can you or other sellers bring that experience back to the UK or Europe?
Yeah, 100%. So went to China last year. It indeed blew my mind. For the people who don't know, live social shopping, people buying on live streams in China is around $700 to $800 billion revenue channel a year. So that's more than the GDP of most countries. The interesting thing what I saw there is the pure scale, of course, China's scale, but also the precision and infrastructure, what they have there. And I've been looking at China. They've been doing this for a decade. I've been looking at China for the past 8 years. I've been waiting for the moment for this to happen in Europe and in the West. And it's happening now. You have creators who are selling millions on platforms and like TikTok Shop and whatnot through live streaming. Brands, same thing. So it's already here, and there is only 5%, I think, of people who know this. The other 95% don't know. The only thing is, I think in the West, especially if you US, UK, now the whole continental Europe is opening up, we want China results without China effort. So we don't have the infrastructure, we don't have the talent yet. And what I mean by that is, for example, you need to, if you want to run a successful live stream, you need a really good live host. And these are not like creators or influencers. These are people, maybe creators, but you actually need to train them. And it's live, so you can't mess it up on the spot. Second, it's the whole infrastructure. So having studios, being consistent, you need to go live for long periods of time. It's like opening an online store, right? You want it to be open as long as possible. But you have the infrastructure. So what we did, last month, we opened we opened a warehouse. We call it Live Streaming Factory. It's 5 studios, which we can be operationally all the time. One of the first in Europe. And the third one is making sure you have the right engagement structure, but especially the right offers. So making sure you have the right products, hero products, you do live only discounts or flash sales. Keep it engaging. I think those three things is really what makes a good live stream. But it's still early for live shopping, and we see crazy numbers, but across the board, we're still early. Yeah.
Thanks, Tim. Vincenzo, what do you feel about live streaming?
Yeah, so I think I share the same experience as Tim when it comes to China. The couple of times I've been there, I see live streaming being such a strong thing when it comes to driving businesses for them. Like I remember being in the Canton Fair last year, and you will see sometimes the actual manufacturer booth put more effort and time into keep the live stream going than the actual people walking on the floor. And sometimes I would ask them like, you see, you have people in front of you like looking to talk to you, but they were saying, no, I'm getting actually more leads and more awareness through live stream. And you see them with 5, 10 phones and a whole camera crew. And I think the reason why that's working so well for them, and that's something we should learn, is because it goes back to the first point I mentioned, which is really connecting with the consumer and really opening the door to what your business really is. Like they put a lot of effort into showing the manufacturing in terms of how something goes from this to becoming a product, the employees, how a product is put in a box. And I think that level of transparency is what really sometimes people want. It's one of the main frictions at the end of the day why people will shop on all your product. They don't trust you. They don't know who is the face behind the brand. Will I get actually the product I'm going to buy? But with live stream, like they know it's real. Like whatever they're saying is essentially resembling what potentially they're gonna get in their hands. And I think according to what I'm seeing, this is a trend that essentially is gonna eventually take over more and more also into the West. We are seeing it. Like Twitch is becoming bigger and bigger. TikTok live stream is also getting bigger and bigger. I think the main barrier of entry in terms of what Tim was mentioning is preparation, right? We don't have a lot of people still knowledgeable about the processes, how to create a script, how to engage with the audience. But I think it's a matter of time. I see a lot of companies in the West really catching up. We see a lot of studios, even clients that we work with, like investing a lot in having their own kind of operations, or even studio to go live stream and show what they're doing. So I think this is something you guys should be aware of, and over time catch up, because that's definitely the future when it comes to social commerce. I will say the other friction as well is that in the West there's also a lot of still lack of trust when it comes to going live and showing your face. I don't want people to see where I live, the warehousing, because everything that has to do with issues that go beyond the social commerce side of things. So the privacy is still an issue here, but I think it's a matter of time as well that people essentially start removing that barrier and implementing it. So I would say as a conclusion is definitely something that people should look into. And I can tell you firsthand that the brands that we work with that are the most successful, they have some part of, as part of the equation, live stream is definitely one of them. Like they go live, they're transparent, and people love that, yeah.
That's great. Train your influencers, train your staff, build the infrastructure. It's all serious, it's really serious business, but in the end, it's about building trust with the brand, right? Now let's layer in a really big force that's shaping in this entire tech space. AI, right? We got to talk about AI. Now, with AI capable of creating brands or campaigns from beginning to design to execution, how do you both see creativity evolving in this space, right? Is AI, will that take creativity off, or do you think it's fine to automate things? Tim?
Yeah, I think it's not one or the other. So it's not or humans or AI. I believe that it will be humans using AI, and where AI will unlock so much more scale, volume, things that can be automated. I believe the role for humans in that is to bring creativity, to bring the meaning, to bring the taste as well. I think right now the tech is already there, and if you want to make mediocre work, it's already free. So if that's the baseline, how do you make something that's actually exceptional and also feel, while on the other side, like virtual influencers, I think they will become mainstream. We will see in 5 to 10 years from now, we will see virtual creators who will be super popular, who brands will work with. Every brand will have their own virtual creator. On the other side, you will still have human creators, creators, authentic, putting in the effort, blood, sweat, and tears, but also the imperfection of things. That's what we've seen a lot, for example, with social commerce. We've been testing with these virtual creators, virtual influencers. What we've seen is that what makes these human creators, and especially social affiliates, what makes the content so good and makes it perform is the little mistakes. It's the authenticity. It's, oh, you open this makeup thing and it doesn't open the first time, or it breaks, or something else. That's what makes the content relatable. It makes it human, authentic, and eventually, end of the day, perform better. So I don't think it's one or the other. Will be room for both, and I think end of the day, people will also start valuing the human creation and authenticity and effort a lot more.
Thanks, Tim. So coexisting between human and virtual influencers, but we do still need the human influencers to preserve authenticity for the brand, right? Vincenzo, what do you think about AI?
Yeah, I also believe that you have to implement a hybrid approach. I think a big mistake I also see with AI is people starting to think that AI is essentially here to remove everything from your plate, and they are automating everything from A to Z. And that's the first thing I can tell you firsthand is also gonna kill the business if you don't essentially do it properly, because it will also kill the authenticity, right? If, as Tim was mentioning, you don't have that kind of human engagement that really convey the reality of the brand, and so who is the founder, who is the team behind, and all of that, and people start noticing that it's always an avatar that's essentially reading a script in the back end, people start losing the trust. A good example I saw the other day, a brand that they were doing to actually mitigate this is like, for example, let's say you're doing a reel that is using a virtual avatar of, in this case, an AI. Why don't you essentially, in between the video, also embed a real person? It could be the founder, or it could be somebody that is the face behind the brand, because I think keeping the balance is going to be very, very important, because I think also like 5, 10 years from now, when AI is essentially removing a lot of faces in terms of social commerce, the few brands that keep that authenticity, the human side, are the ones that are going to keep thriving, because people at the end of the day still want to do business with people, and I think only having a brand that's essentially driven by AI is something that you shouldn't be doing, because that's going to remove that connection. Now, how do you keep the balance, and what you should be using AI for? For volume. Of course, when it comes to going across all these platforms, if you try to do everything yourself, it's going to take a lot of time, a lot of work, and that's where AI needs to be your best friend, coming up with the script or creating, embedding content with yours that is the real one, or doing things that are very admin driven. That's where AI is going to maximize your return on investment on these apps. But don't go fully AI, because I'm seeing a lot of brands also going their way, that they went all AI, and you can see from the engagement has dropped significantly. So make sure you leverage the technology, but also avoid falling into the trap of thinking that that's the only way moving forward into this era.
Thank you. That's a great tip. AI as a creative partner, take care of your admin and mundane tasks, but still the creativity comes from the human. Now, quick round of questions. We have a minute left. If we meet again at Co-Create 2026, or should I say when we meet again next year, what will be the biggest difference in how people shop online next year this time? Tim?
They will shop way more through creators, even more than today. You will see creators who will become millionaires with 5,000 followers. Maybe you will have one on stage. And I bet that almost everyone in this room will buy something through a live stream in the coming 12 months.
Or through a virtual influencer, maybe.
Or a virtual influencer. I think mostly humans still the next 12 months.
Okay, not there yet. Okay. Vincenzo, what do you think?
Yeah, so I would say one of the biggest thing, and actually you can already see it, like I see it already on a daily basis, but I think by next year it's going to be even more. You're going to see more and more founders essentially stepping out of their office and being the face of their brands, because I'm seeing that that's really what is driving a lot of the authenticity that right now is starting to lack given the automation of AI. So we're going to see more and more kind of engagement channels being created. Even platforms such as Amazon is putting a lot of effort on making this essential seamless with influencers. So I think that's where it's heading. And I think by next year, if you don't have a presence of social commerce, you're really going to struggle and just be left behind like a commodity. Yeah.
Okay, let's see which of you is right next year. Fascinating discussion. Thank you so much to both Tim, Vincenzo, for breaking down what social commerce means, to sharing your creative playbooks, and to predicting the future, basically, and sharing your tips for everyone in this room. So whether you're a business getting ready to launch your first social media campaign, a creator who's building your brand, or simply like an avid shopper like myself, I hope this session has been helpful. Thank you so much, and enjoy the rest of Co-Create.